Hello again, everyone. Edwin Learnard back once again. In this YouTube astrological segment, I'm going to be talking about Libra archetypes, and I'm going to be using examples for the Sun, Moon, and Ascendant. Now, one person I think that strongly embodies Libra characteristics is Libra rising prolific NFL quarterback Tom Brady. He seems to be able to disperse his passes proportionately with the talent of the team. And the thing about it is, I mean, he's also someone that epitomizes modesty and humbleness, and which is very synonymous with Libra. I can remember one time when he deferred to Peyton Manning. It seemed like seemingly that he was the superior quarterback in many aspects. He even said that he felt that that Peyton Manning was even smarter than him. This was prior to a game that he was going to play against a Peyton Manning team. Now, the thing about Tom Brady too is that being a Libra Ascendant, I'm sure he believes in a very balanced offensive attack, and really I would see him giving praise but yet criticism very evenly to teammates. Now, another person that I look at, prolific, a former athlete, that is very emblematic of his sign is Sun, Moon in Libra, Scottie Pippen. Now, when Scottie Pippen, when he played in the NBA, was with the Chicago Bulls, I mean, he struck me as somebody with a very even temperament and didn't seem to allow extraneous or outside things to interfere with his play on the court. He seemed like he was also very averse to allowing other players to get into his head, so to speak, and to bait him into doing something that would be to the detriment of the team. I mean, everybody has an exception to the rule. I can remember one time when he got irritated. I believe it was a regular season game. He kicked a basketball into the stands, I believe. But, I mean, we have to keep in mind, too, that there's no infallible person, athlete, or celebrity, or what have you. Now, a thing about, and also, too, I mean, he seems like he's very intelligent and, you know, I'm sure somebody very articulate, and Libra can have very strong literary ability. Now, another person that comes to mind as far as a quintessential Libra rising could be very well be legendary country music singer Crystal Gayle. Now, she seems to strongly embody Libra qualities, especially from a physical vantage point. Very attractive, very balanced, even features, symmetrical body, and she has a really amazing melodic voice and great vibrato. And being, you know, Libra rising, it's not surprising she's had success in the arts. And when I'm talking about arts, I'm talking about music, of course. I mean, I understand her sister Loretta Lynn. Many people may see her as, you know, the better singer in some cases, but I think Crystal Gayle, I mean, really likely was the superior singer, but she is just very humble and reticent, so she might not really get a lot of maybe the accolades she truly deserves. I mean, she gets enough, but I think she should probably get more. So anyway, the next thing I want to talk about, as far as somebody that may strongly epitomize Libra energy, is Libra Moon John Walsh, who, of course, was the former host of America's Most Wanted, and he is the host of a show called The Hunt. And seemingly, John Walsh seems to be on this perpetual crusade and relentless pursuit of apprehending and capturing felons, and he is obviously somebody, if anyone, that is vehemently against injustice and abhors injustice very strongly. And since the death of Adam Walsh's son, I mean, you talk about a relentless pursuit for justice. I mean, he is somebody that really is doing this very consistently, to say the least. No surprise, he is a Capricorn sun sign. I would not be surprised if he has a Capricorn ascendant as well. But anyway, given that this is his moon sign, it's obviously an emotional need for justice and balance and fairness. So Anyway, well, another thing on a personal note, I had a former Libra rising friend that I knew one time on the internet, and this occurred almost 2.5 years ago. There was one time when I had, as an example, I had blocked her from contacting me at that point in time on a social media site. And I mean, I naturally, never heard from her again afterwards, whether it was on the phone or whether it was on another social media site. The point I'm making is that Libra energy, I mean, she was very, a Libra archetype, I felt, in my opinion, very strongly, because what I see about Libras and connections, friendships, relationships, what have you, is that they look at the fair value system. And what I mean by that is they're very equitable, in the sense that if you can forget about them, they can forget about you. You may not get like any great strong retaliation, or then they're generally not going to be begging you to get back into their life. They look at it like, I think in a lot of cases, that if you're done with them, they could adopt that same outlook toward you, basically. So that is what is really I call a prototypical Libra energy right there. And the thing about it is, I've talked about before, about how actors and actresses consciously, if not subconsciously in some cases, can be drawn toward roles that may very well correspond with their astrological energies. Now, look at one movie, I believe it was entitled Falling Down, and Michael Douglas starred in it as a sun in Libra. And I mean, the Libra energy in a very negative manifestation can resort to vigilantism. And really what that's about is it's about taking the law into your own hands and creating your own law, so to speak. And in the movie, he took this to a very extreme level. Now, I know in real life he would never do this. And what I'm talking about with Libra energy, though, of course, is in very extreme examples. This comes out in the movie, perhaps with him. I mean, he was at one scene in the movie where he was asking for breakfast, it was either lunchtime or dinner time, and very adamant about it. And the thing about it is, when Libra energy is really expressed in a negative manifestation, this could be this could be one of those results, as far as that as an example anyway. But obviously, what I'm stating is a very extreme example. Now, the thing about Libra energy, too, people got to remember, is that Libras can strongly be about compromise, and they can be very adaptable. They're also, I mean, what they can often do are make adjustments for the betterment of a whole or the team, as far as sacrificing the individual aspect of things, so to speak. Now, one example of this, I think, is NBA legend Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, who has a Libra ascendant, of course, formerly known as Lou Alcindor. Now, when Magic Johnson arrived on the Lakers in 1979, Kareem may have had to take a step back in terms of his production level and touches he had with the ball, and defer to Magic a little bit more. But I think he was actually able to do this very successfully. And remember, Kareem also has a Pisces moon, and that can be connected with self-sacrifice as well. And Libras can strongly be about team success, collaborative efforts, and playing collectively. They're often the best team players and often epitomize team chemistry. Now, and the thing is, I think Kareem understood and acknowledged that Magic Johnson was a dominant player despite being a rookie, and he helped lead them actually to an NBA title that season. I believe they were victorious over the Philadelphia 76ers 4-2 in the 79-80 season. And I think Kareem had understood what Magic was about very strongly, and he was willing to say, okay, I'm willing to maybe take a step back a little bit and allow this person to work his magic, so to speak, pun intended, of course. But anyway, another person I think strongly embodies Libra energy is the NBA head coach of the Golden State Warriors, Steve Kerr, who has a Libra sun and has his moon in Libra or Scorpio, depending on time of birth. Now, I mean, he is the head coach of a perennial title contender, Golden State Warriors, who, of course, won the NBA title, the most recent one in 2018. And I understand a lot of people believe almost anybody can coach a team that's got such a surfeit and abundance of talent. Well, not necessarily. I think, I mean, with him being a Libra Libra Sun and possible Libra Moon, depending on time of birth, I'm sure he knows very well how to disperse playing time with players proportionately with their talent levels, and I think he is certainly no exception. Libras again are about a collaboration, a collective effort of the team. And he really, Libras can be the best at getting people, in teams, especially maybe to play cohesively. And also, being a Libra Sun and really being about a balance of many things. And that could even include intrinsic and extrinsic motivation for the basketball team. And really, and the thing about it is, and really about the true team concept. And I think he really, has done a tremendous job with this team, and I think his sense of balance and fairness has really played a strong role as far as that goes. And anyway, well, another thing, too, I want to talk about as far as Libra energy goes. Libra, of course, can often be connected with the law. And many of you may have remembered Ed Koch was the host of People's Court at one time. They could be the consummate judge. And he has had a Libra Ascendant. And Libra people often make the best judges because they are often very fair-minded and very equitable. And they know, they are about fairness and about seeing situations very objectively, looking at just evaluating things in a very fair-minded manner. They are the ones that often want justice more so than the other signs, and they will do what they can to make sure it's served one way or another. Now, another person that's interesting is Libra's Sun is Judge Judy. So she has a Libra Sun, but I think really ostensibly perhaps an Aries Ascendant, because she's certainly a lot more abrupt and outspoken than the typical Libra Sun, a little bit acerbic too, I believe. But she strikes me as somebody, of course, that can really, that can be fair-minded, but she will be the type to at least, despite her outspoken nature, I think she is the type to listen to what the people have to say and listen to both sides very evenly, and before making an evaluation or a decision of what that she is going to render. And I think she will, and probably fairly too, she strikes me as someone that treats the people that are in the courtroom, the defendants and plaintiffs or what have you, in a balanced way and proportionately with how they are treating her, I believe, as well. If they're belligerent toward her, she might be a little bit toward them. And if they're respectful toward her, she might act in accordance that way and be like that toward them as well. Now, another thing, too, is that looking at, I would say with Libras as well, and going back to, I want to talk about actors and actresses again, and going to judges. The thing about it is, you look at the late Harry Anderson. I believe he had died recently. I believe it's the late Harry Anderson, but anyway, he had his Sun in Libra, and as many of you may know, he played a judge on the show Night Court. And I've talked before and previously about how actors and actresses can be, I believe, can consciously, or if not subconsciously, be connected to roles that correspond with their astrological energies. Harry Anderson certainly no exception to that. He played, on the judge on Night Court, he struck me as somebody that the character struck me as someone that had an even temperament, someone that followed a polite but firm approach, fairly diplomatic, but at the same time, if the person really deserved, whether it was a fine or what have you, he would be able to do this without any problems or hesitation. But I felt like he played somebody that really fit the role and was very fair-minded and equitable on that particular show. And the thing about it is, too, another person that comes to mind that can strongly, I think, embody Libra-like energy. The actor, I don't know if he's currently on the show or not, but I know he at least had been on it previously, was the SVU actor Sam Waterston, who has a Libra Ascendant. Now, I know he played kind of a hard-nosed, grizzled kind of a personality on the show, but I mean, he was still somebody that, I mean, he played an attorney on there, but being, given that he was willing, I mean, whether he be interrogating them in that room or what have you, talking to the suspects, he seemed like he would be willing, like most, willing to negotiate with them, whether it would be a plea deal or what have you, and he would at least give them the time and listen to what these suspects had to say, which of course is very synonymous with the zodiac sign Libra. And again, I do believe that a lot of actors and actresses are often drawn to acting roles that correspond with their astrological energies, whether it's on a conscious or subconscious level. Now, last but not least, I want to go back to, I was talking about Steve Kerr, the NBA head coach of the Golden State Warriors. Now, there's one thing I neglected to state before I thought was interesting. I talked about, Libra's sense for balance. And the thing about it is, I thought one thing was interesting is that the Golden State Warriors in the 2017-18 NBA regular season were #1 in points scored, and they were around the middle of the pack in defense. I mean, still somewhat balanced with offense and defense. But the thing that stands out, though, with them is that they were #1 in the NBA in assists per game at about 29, which shows very strong distribution of the basketball. It wasn't about one person trying to dominate possession of a basketball on an offensive play. You had a lot of passes going on many offensive possessions before whoever it was going to take the shot. And a lot of this, I think, is that Libra energy coming out through the team. Kevin Durant, who is, I mean, perhaps unequivocally the best player on the team, has a Libra sun. So it's no shocker there. He seems to fit right into that system very well with Steve Kerr there. And I think they obviously, I'm sure him and Steve Kerr might have a very good compatibility, given that they're both Libra suns. So that really, anyway, people, that'll conclude this YouTube astrological segment for Libra archetypes. Stay tuned next time where I'll be talking about Scorpio archetypes. Two things I want to get with you on before I head out. Firstly, the stars may impel but do not compel. And secondly, never isolate any single astrological element, aspect, planetary placement, position, configuration, influence, or what have you, and make an analysis of a person, astrologically speaking, based on this alone, because astrologically speaking, the person is the sum of all their components in their natal chart and not just one. Until next time, people, stay well.